Good evening, everyone. I hope this video finds you in the best of health and spirits. The topic of this video is why we need a power sector revolution in India. This video is long overdue, and I'm taking it up and making it finally. Let us now trace the history of electricity. The history of electricity began with some ancient Greek philosophers who observed that amber attracted objects after it was rubbed with silk. Okay, therefore the Greek word for the word for electricity comes from the word amber, which means electron. For Greek word for amber, which means electron. Okay, and apart from that, tales of militaries also contributed to the early development of history. In the year 1600, William Gilbert coined the term electricity and linked it to magnetism. Much later, a much more important person in the 18th century, Benjamin Franklin, proved that lightning was electricity by flying a kite during a thunderstorm. Okay, Benjamin Franklin was a famous American polymath. He was also a writer, scientist, inventor, statesman, diplomat, printer, publisher, and political philosopher. He was also noted to be one of the founding fathers of the USA. Okay, in the year 1780, Luigi Galvani performed a frog experiment and demonstrated electricity generation. In the year 1800, Alessandro Volta was an Italian physicist and chemist. He discovered the world's first electric battery. In the year 1802, Humphrey Davy invented a carbon lamp. In 1821, Michael Faraday, who was a British physicist and chemist discovered the process of electromagnetic induction. In the year 1830, Joseph Henry invented the dynamo, which was an electric generator. In 1831, Charles Wheatstone and William Cook invented the telegraph. In the year 1878, Thomas Edison and Joseph Swan independently discovered the electric light. Okay, and Thomas Alva Edison and Nikola Tesla subsequently played a major role. This is known as the Battle of the Currents. Thomas Alva Edison supported direct current. Nikola Tesla famously supported alternating current. Okay, if you trace the history of Thomas Alva Edison, he was an eminent American inventor. He was one of the most famous and prolific inventors of his time. He exerted a tremendous influence on modern life, contributing to inventions such as incandescent bulb, phonograph, the motion picture camera, as well as by improving the telegraph and the telephone also. Okay, telephone was invented by someone else, but he had played a major role in developing it. He naturally believed in the direct current or DC and clashed famously with the Serbian inventor Nikola Tesla. Edison criticized alternating current and electrocuted elephants to prove his case. He believed that AC was dangerous potentially. The clash between Edison and Tesla is depicted in the Battle of the Currents. It's a famous uh, event. It has also been made into a full-fledged movie. Nikola Tesla, on the other hand, supported the alternating current, was a famous Serbian American engineer, futurist, and inventor. Okay, he pioneered the generation, transmission, and use of electric alternating current. And there are many differences between the two in terms of polarity, storage, transmission, connection, voltage, usage, etc. I won't get into these two. The electrification of USA and the West began right earnest. In 1890, Westinghouse and Stanley built a system to transmit power several miles to a mine in Colorado. The first power generation in the United States was Pearl Sea Station, built in New York City in 1882 by Thomas Edison. It was the first power plant in the USA. And by the early 1800s, many homes had been electrified in the USA and Canada. Electrification in the UK and other parts of Europe also began in right earnest. The first AC power station was built by the English electrical engineer Sebastian Di Ferranti. In the year 1887, the London Electric Supply Corporation hired Ferranti for the design of the power station at Deptford. Charles Mers of the Mers and McLincoln Consulting Partnership built the Neptune Power Plant Station near Newcastle upon Tyne in the UK in the year 1901. If you see the history of electricity in India, the first demonstration of an electric light took place in Calcutta, now Kolkata. It was conducted on the 24th of July 1879 by P.W. Fleary and Co. Okay, in 1893, some demonstrations were held in Madras also, which is now known as Chennai. In the year 1893, the Amritsar Golden Temple was lit up, however, very briefly by electricity. On the 7th of January in 1897, Kilburn and Co. secured the Calcutta Electric lighting license as agents of the Indian Electric Company, which was registered in London on the 15th of January 1897. In the year 1902, there was a polar power station in Kolar in Karnataka near the Kolar goldfields. In the year 1905, Bangalore got electricity with a very tiny consumer base. In the year 1907, Madras got electricity with a very tiny consumer base. Bombay and Calcutta also likewise got electricity in the first decade of 20th century. Electricity took off in a big way in India in the 1920s only, but only in the cities to begin with and district headquarters. Okay, if you see the history of electricity in India after independence, universal electrification was largely neglected after independence. The rural electrification program was incorporated in 1795 with a mandate to expand the reach of electricity supply to all rural areas. We also have had schemes such as the Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gram Jyoti Yojana. As per the scheme, electrified and unelectrified villages were electrified and the distribution network was strengthened. Okay, as per the Saubhagya scheme, building households were electrified by 31st of March 2019. We also had the revamped distribution sector scheme, which supports states in electrifying remaining households. PM German, which provides on-grid electricity connections to particularly vulnerable tribal groups, PBTG households. Rural electrification programs were carried out. This built electrical distribution pole lines to extend the national grid to unelectrified areas. Okay, there are however several challenges in electrification of rural households in India. We have, to begin with, very poor quality of electricity service, including load shedding, outages, and voltage fluctuations, high cost of electricity, customers' inability and unwillingness to pay. Viability in remote regions can be called into question, especially some habitats and habitations of populations less than 100 people. If you see the current status of electrification in India, currently all villages in India have been electrified with effect from 29th April 2018, but it doesn't mean that all households are electrified. By India's own standards, only 10% of households must have electricity for it to be considered electrified. As of August 2018, 91% of rural total households are electrified in India and 9% remain unelectrified. And there is a very slow momentum to bridge the gap and electrify remaining unelectrified households. If you see rural villages in India, they are electrified non-uniformly. Richer states are able to provide majority of the villages with power. Many poor states such as Bihar, rural electrification power schemes remains a misnomer. Okay, it's highly misleading because of the aforesaid reasons that I mentioned. Power supply is erratic. There are large number of outages, and only rich houses in villages are electrified. If you see, they try to analyze the three components of the power sector. They are firstly power generation, B power transmission, C power distribution. If you look at power generation, India is the third largest producer of electricity in the world. During the fiscal year 2023-24, the total electricity generation was 1,949 TWh, out of which 1,734 TDUH was generated by utilities. Okay, India it generates power from both conventional and non-renewable sources as well as renewable sources. The latter are picking up rapidly and quickly in recent years. And the country's power generation is also driven by pent-up demand and unfulfilled, unsatisfied demand, as well as economic growth and population growth. Both these two are increasing in tandem to increase the demand for electric supply, which is likely to increase for many years to come. Okay, and if there are three major sources of power generation, first thing is central governments generate some power, and some power is generated by the state government. Some power is also generated by the private sector. These are increasing. If you look at thermal conventional sources, you have thermal power, solar power, and hydroelectric power. And off late, we've had non-conventional sources such as wind power, solar power, biopower, etc. And if you see, we have major share by coal, 49.3% as of 2023. Lignite constitutes 1.6%, gas 6%, diesel 0.1%, hydro 11.2%, and wind, solar, and RE are around 30%. Nuclear is around 1.6%. Okay, what is power transmission? Power transmission is a process of moving electricity from generating station to distributing entity. The transmission system in India includes transmission lines, substations, transformers, and switching stations also. Okay. Transmission system in India is owned by Power Grid Corporation of India Limited. Power Grid transmission lines are built by Power Grid Corporation. Substations, transmission lines connect to substations which are a part of the transmission system. Transformers are also part of the transmission system. We have switching stations which are a part of the transmission system. Okay. In India, the year 2013, India achieved what is known as a One Nation, One Grid, One Frequency system. One Nation, One Grid, One Frequency system is a project in India that integrates the country's five regional power grids into a single synchronous grid. The project was completed in 2013. Okay, the country's transmission system has been strengthened with the network of power transmission lines and interregional capacity. The government has focused on creating a congestion-free network, and if you see the future of power transmission in India, India's energy goals include achieving energy independence by 2070, for 2047, and net zero emissions by 2070. These goals are likely to drive exponential growth in the power sector in India. If you see power distribution, that is the last leg. Power distribution in India is the process of transporting electricity from transmission line to end consumers. The states are responsible for distribution of power in both rural and uh, urban areas. How exactly is power distributed in India? It is done by distribution companies, which are known as discoms. Okay, these companies control the majority of market share for power distribution. Next, we have some private entity also, but however the contribution is small. We have private entities such as Tata Power Company Private Limited and Torrent Private Limited. They also undertake power distribution in India. Discoms include companies such as the Calcutta Electric Supply Company, Ahmedabad Electric Supply Company, Surat Electricity Co. Limited, BSES, Reliance Energy Limited, etc. etc. Okay. And how are discoms rated? The discoms are also rated properly, structurally, foundationally. This is done by the Central Electricity Authority or CEA. This is they are rated using a framework of 15 base rating metrics and 9 disincentives. Okay, the rating score is translated into grades such as A plus, A, B, C, D, etc. And the discoms are also initiating some measures to improve their performance. However, given the fact that many of them are in rural areas controlled by state governments, the performance is pathetic and lousy still. Okay, and there are many states that are taking off in different directions. Okay, we still have concepts such as billing losses, billing accuracy is not there, and there is no transparency for consumers. And power theft exists, unauthorized conditions exist, meter tampering exist, building irregularities exist. Okay, and much more importantly, erratic power supply is the norm. Okay, due to this, many problem issues such as automation of education, many things cannot take off. Okay, improved infrastructure in school, many of these things cannot be taken off over in India. That is why sound powered distribution system is hallmark for for progress, India's progress. Not only for India's progress, progress in other developing countries also we may be suffering from similar issues and problems. We also have had the solar revolution in India. Solar boom is currently occurring in India. There is a rapid increase in solar power generation capacity, with the country experiencing a significant rise in installed solar power capacity over the past few years. This is driven by government initiative and new kinds of policies also. And as of 2025, we have reached 100 gigawatt solar generation capacity. Okay, and many states like Andhra Pradesh and Rajasthan are also taking off in solar in a big way. Okay, other types of solar energy also, we have concentrated solar power, we have thermal. I mean, sorry, we have wind power, we have ocean power. These are over nascent in India, and we have had a new scheme called the PM Surya Ghar scheme. We moved to Bijli Yojana. It's a government scheme to provide free electricity to households in India. This was launched by Prime Minister Narendra Modi on February 15, 2024. Under the scheme, households will be provided with a subsidy to install solar power on their roofs. Okay, and it has been exceeding initial targets easily. It has been a success by and large. There have been large number of registrations and installations which have been completed within a relatively short time frame, and it has been associated with high installation rates. Target demographics have been reached, particularly in states like Gujarat, Maharashtra, and Uttar Pradesh. It has had a positive impact on the electricity bills. Government's commitment is also high. However, there is a difference variation between the state governments in plural commitment, central governments plural. We also have the ability to for consumers to store their own surplus power in Tesla power walls, etc. They can store it, and they are also able to sell the surplus power back to the grid in some case. Okay, solar is naturally the way to go. However, wind and tidal power are little nascent in India. Vibration power and new technologies may are coming up. They may replace windmills. New technologies must be tracked and monitored aggressively. If you see the power problems faced by the power sector in India, we have other concepts, problems such as power theft, unauthorized connections, meter tamping, building irregularities, inadequate infrastructure, especially in rural areas, fluctuating demand. Demand peaks during summer and comes down in winter. And during the time, depending on the time of the day, there is a fluctuation. Demand is always higher than supply. There's high cost of fuel, particularly coal extraction, etc. There is still a dependency on phase coal. While USA may wind up coal generation completely by the end of this decade, and many countries in Europe will do so also within the next 10, 15 years. India will take another 30, 40 years to achieve this. There's still a concept of the issue of age power plants, which are also highly polluting, particularly in surrounding areas of Delhi. And this leads to high pollution in cities such as Delhi, lack of investment, okay, poor infrastructure, and a large number of power cuts, high maintenance, frequent breakdowns, human capital challenges because we don't have enough trained people. Okay, there is also concept of climate change. This can be done only by phasing out solar. Okay, and India's demand is still rising. For example, 1 year alone, 2023, it has been rising at it has risen at 7% as compared to the global average of 2.2% increase. And power outages can also occur due to storms, hurricanes, typhoons, tornadoes, etc. There may be blackouts due to this. There may also be brownouts, which lead to fluctuation in power. Okay, and in rural areas, particularly, we have issue of cost of extending power lines to remote areas, demand management because demand is very poor in sparsely populated areas. Still, technically, we need to give them power, and all schools need to be provided with power. Okay. Technical expertise may not be available in rural areas. There is a lack of policy commitment for distribution of power supply to unviable and uneconomical regions. Poverty and ignorance and illiteracy means that people in rural areas do not know or do not understand the importance of electricity changing their lives. Again, geography and maintenance in rural areas is a problem. Particularly in regions like Bihar, we have very poor performance. The problem in rural areas in Bihar is very severe. Okay, and according to an official, Bihar required 6,500 megawatt of electricity, but the state government managed to get only 4,700 megawatts. Is 1,800 megawatt gap in Bihar. Okay, if you see the major problems in Discom, there is a high degree of financial stress, high ATC and ATNC losses, leading to substantial financial losses for Discom, making it difficult for them to cover operational costs and service debt. Tariff issues, they are not able to increase tariffs due to political reasons. And the performance, given the fact that performance is poor, tariffs have to be hiked up. Okay, subsidies are not able to be provided. We have outdated infrastructure with related to distribution network. Okay, and we have long-term purchase power agreements with high fixed costs. Okay, and this means that we are not able to take advantage of falling renewable energy prices. We have regulatory challenges. Okay, and political interference into discoms. Okay, and metering problems are issues, and theft is still a problem. Infrastructure upgradation and tariff reforms are also proving to be problematic. Some states have done well. Okay, and if you see, Andhra Pradesh has managed significant reforms. The power sector in Andhra Pradesh is divided into four categories, namely generation, transmission, distribution, and regulation. Sector is regulated by the Andhra Pradesh Electricity Regulatory Commission. And we have concepts such as AP Genco, which is responsible for electricity production maintenance and new project proposals. APPDCL, joint venture company between AB Genco and ILNFC that builds and operates power projects. NTPC, a company that contributes to power generation in AP. AP Transco, responsible for transmitting power. APSPDCL, a distribution company that supplies power to districts in AP. And in AP, we generally have coal, biomass, hydro, wind, solar, nuclear, etc. And what we need to do, states need to learn from each other, need to implement reforms as necessary. Niti Aayog can act as a coordinating and overseeing body, okay, advisory body. It can take case studies from different states and then distribute the knowledge wherewithal among other states. We need a stronger customer focus. Customer focus approach is needed. Relevant power supply has many downstream benefits. It can be the basis of education in future. Central government must make this a big priority, and consultancy must be provided to states in future. Okay. With this, I end my video. Still, we have a long way to go. We have had meaningful telecom reforms, and we had a very good highway program. But power supply is one of our Achilles heels. This needs to be set right on a war footing. Thank you very much once again.